Welcome back everyone. Today we are reviewing Makiatto, whose rerun banner is live right now. Is she worth pulling for, even with the new Klukai banner going on? We'll go over her kit and discuss her build, teams, playstyle, etc. to determine that. If you are new and missed out on her first banner like me or are curious to know more about her, stay tuned to find out if she is worth pulling for and how many dupes or weapons are optimal. So without further chit chat, let's jump into it. If you know my format, you know I always start with the TLDR version. So Makiatto is a single target freeze DPS character. She is a sniper user and she really excels at dealing insane single target damage. She has a very balanced kit, providing her both excellent damage and sustainability together, making her very self-sufficient in a team. While we consider Klukai to be the apex DPS of this game, Makiatto sits right behind her and is still a top tier DPS unit, especially in single target bossing situations, where she can even outperform Klukai below certain dupes. She is actually a very easy character to recommend pulling for and doesn't need very high investment to be competitive with other top tier DPSs like Chongju and Tololo. She is already really good at V0 but only gets stronger with dupe investment. If you are pulling for her or already have her from before, V1 and V2 are the key milestones for maximizing her potential. You really do not need to pull above V2 at all. At V2 C1, that means with her signature weapon, she is a complete unit and you are pretty much set with her. While the SOP SSR sniper Samosek isn't bad on her at all, her signature weapon particularly caters towards buffing her freeze damage potential a lot and is a very much recommended pull after her V2. In my opinion, Makiatto is an easy pick and a must pull unit. Although it's unfortunate that in latest CN patches a full freeze team don't see much usage, we can still see Makiatto in a lot of teams as she is a very powerful DPS addition to any team and is self-sufficient. If you are building a freeze team though right now, you wanna have her of course, as she is the center of the team. But even if you are not interested in that, she is really flexible to slot into any team comp by herself to take the advantage of any freeze weak boss stages. In GFL2, you kinda wanna have dolls from all elemental types to always take the full advantage of the boss weaknesses, and I feel like Makiatto alone can cover for the freeze element in your roster. Well, that's the TLDR. I think it went on for quite long, so let's quickly go over her skills and figure out what makes her so good, shall we? Makiatto's skill 1 is her bread and butter skill for damage output. With proper fixed keys setup, you will pretty much be spamming this skill throughout the battle when you are not ulting. It has a high freeze damage multiplier, and the best part is it stacks a buff called Cold Conviction for each instance of damage from this skill, up to 3 stacks, and each stack straight up buffs her attack by 10%. That's insane. And also this buff goes away when you use any other active skill, so that pushes you towards spamming this skill only as well. Her skill 2 does physical damage and isn't really used much for the damage output, but can be super useful in some cases. It gives you 4 convection index. So if you are struggling to maintain the required energy to spam your skill 1, you can rotate this skill in between if needed. But more importantly, it reduces your AoE damage taken, which is a really good sustainability buff if you need it as well. Her ultimate is a fun one. It's not an active attack, but it gives her a big frost shield. That's why I said she has a really good inbuilt sustainability, which makes her self-sufficient really. And the actual good part is that as long as the frost shield is up for 2 turns, she gains alert, which is a counter-attacking mechanism. Whenever an enemy in her range attempts to actively attack when she is on alert, she counter-attacks and deals freeze damage to that enemy and puts a frozen debuff on that enemy as well. She can counter-attack twice per turn. Her passive is a simple one but powerful. It can give her more range and movement based on her HP remaining and allows her to do more damage to enemies with freeze debuffs. The effects of this can really be amplified in a team with other characters that can set up for Makiatto to get the most out of it. Now on to her Vertebrae levels. The main ones are her V1 and V2. V1 directly buffs her skill 1. It reduces the skill's damage multiplier, but now it takes 2 shots instead of 1. And you already know skill 1 puts the attack percentage buff per damage instance, so you reach max stack even faster. And since you are mostly spamming skill 1, your overall damage output is significantly increased with this one, especially against bosses. And her V2 buffs her ultimate. That's why I said both V1 and V2 are the recommended ones, as they buff the only 2 skills you will probably be using. Besides making the frost shield even bigger from the ultimate, her V2 increases your number of counter attacks per turn to 3. So it helps with mobbing stages as well as bossing. As mentioned, it's absolutely fine to stop at V2, but if you want to go beyond, you're gonna have to target V6 then. That's the next breakpoint, and that again buffs our ultimate. Now you can do 1 more counter attack, so 4 total round, and it also helps you recover convection indexes, which in turn helps you keep up your skill 1 spamming. Now let's talk about her weapon choices. Her signature weapon, Bittersweet Caramel, is the recommended one after getting V2. It's made for her, so suits her the best of course. With her ult on, she can do a lot of out of turn damages with her counter attacks, and that helps buff her attack with this weapon since it synergizes very well. It also buffs her freeze damage and activates more defense ignore to boost the damage even more. I do need to mention that since we already had the Dupe banner, her signature weapon Eulogistic Burst can also be good on Makiatto if you have it, as it also has inbuilt freeze damage buffs as well. But the weapon specific skill on this one is more targeted towards buffing other allied units freeze damage rather than own, which could be wasted on Makiatto a little bit. If you are F2P though, the SOP SSR sniper Samosek is a pretty good alternative on her. Although it being Mosin Nagan's signature, the electric damage buff is definitely wasted on Makiatto again, but still the overall damage buffs are pretty competitive for it to be a solid option. And if you are looking for SR choices, the 3-line rifle M1891 is the one you'd go for. She does have a SR signature sniper as well, but you need to pull on the limited gacha for that, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, on to her build. Her best in slot attachment set is the Freeze Boost set, pretty self-explanatory there. And the substats priority is as follows: attack percentage, then flat attack, which is pretty equal to crit rate percentage, and then crit damage percentage. The standard for any DPS. Although Makiatto does have a high base attack stat and a lot of inbuilt attack buffs, so you could prioritize crit rate a bit more for her if you want to. You wanna target 2700 plus attack, 60% crit rate and 155% of crit damage for an endgame full build. Her best in slot fixed keys are Absolute Concentration, which buffs her attack as long as she stays at 100% HP, which she should be given she has an inbuilt shield, and your team should have a healer as well. Iced with Milk Foam and Additional Intelligence. These two keys helps her keep up the required confection indexes for spamming her skill 1. In boss fights you can use Heated Caramel, and if your team has Suomi you can also use Time for a Break. As for the common keys, besides her own, Mosin Nagan's, Dupe and Nemesis common keys are worth putting on her. Besides them, any generic one that has attack percentage and crit rate buffs are suitable as well. Makiatto's skill rotation is pretty simple. You wanna start with your ultimate and a good positioning to get the most use out of your counter attacks, and then you use the skill 1 every turn afterwards. You can keep ulting on every cooldown, but don't always need to. It depends on the stages, bossing or mobbing, etc. So feel free to judge on the situation. And if needed to recover confection indexes, you can skill 2 in between as well. Makiatto's highest potential is achieved in a full freeze team with Suomi, Dasabnaya and Lota. This is the first full elemental team global players could build, and it is really good. But honestly, Makiatto and Suomi alone are enough of a team, and you can fill the rest of the slots with anyone. These two are the best teammates and can be the core for building a team around them. You can add the corrosion core with this duo to build a really powerful freeze corrosion comp, which can still be seen a lot in CN. But as I said in the beginning, in recent CN meta, freeze units are being used less and less. But Makiatto is the only one still being used in a lot of various different team comps. In those team comps, instead of Suomi, Springfield is primarily the main support of the team, and especially with other DPSs like Tololo and Nikita alongside for a Hydro Freeze hybrid team. Okay, now we come to the final conclusion. So, should you pull for Makiatto? I think so, yes. If you want an easy to use top tier single target DPS who can be a versatile addition to any team and the best freeze damage dealer, it is her, and you should feel very safe pulling for her without worrying about her falling behind anytime soon performance wise. So keeping that in mind, you can follow the below pull recommendation. If you are tight on pull resources, you can stop at V0, she is good and absolutely viable there. Her V1 is a significant boost to her overall damage, so if you can, go for it. Her next breakpoint is one more dupe at V2, and that's the recommended point to stop for dupes for anyone who's not a whale. If you have gotten V2, the next recommendation is to get her signature weapon, as it becomes significantly better than the pre-SSR option Samosek this point onwards. And lastly, beyond this, if you are willing to whale, go for her V6 for the best version of Makiatto you can have. And that's a wrap on our Makiatto review. I hope this helped you make up your mind about pulling on her current banner. What's your current thoughts on Makiatto? Are you going for her or saving up for future banners? Drop your comments below. Also let me know if I missed anything or if you know any more info you feel like worth sharing. If you have enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. And if you want to directly show your support, you have the option to join the channel membership or send a super thanks. Those will be super appreciated. Also, I'll be covering Peritia and Misty soon, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.